Hello, gardeners. I'm Xandra here with your happy news. Gardeners, a Japanese company has developed the world's first plant-based racing engine oil. The company is Idemitsu Kosan, and their groundbreaking racing engine oil could change the way that we think about sustainability in high-performance vehicles because it combines environmental consciousness with top-tier racing performance. Their product, called IFG Plant Tech Racing, is made up of 80% raw plant material, mostly palm oil supported by rapeseed and sunflower oils, resulting in an 82% lower carbon footprint. After rigorously testing it against other flagship traditional racing oils, they found that their plant tech oil isn't just better for the environment, but it may also be better for the car too, because it maximizes the power of the engine by causing 50% less friction, which means that it reduces the power loss and has better fuel efficiency. It's also more durable, providing 194% greater toughness during high-stress scenarios, and it greatly enhances the protection of critical engine components while also providing piston cleanliness that's better than the traditional oils. This also helps it run smoothly and more efficiently. They were able to prove their concept in a recent competitive Pro-Am racing event where their Mazda Spirit Racing Roadster ran on the plant tech oil for an intense 5-hour race and performed flawlessly, demonstrating that high-performance vehicles and environmental responsibility can go hand in hand. The introduction of plant-based motor oil isn't just about racing. It's also a glimpse into how the automotive industry can embrace sustainability without sacrificing performance, and without having to make entirely new cars powered differently with infrastructure we don't already have. Brian, I hope that this paves the way towards more solutions for cars that we already have on the road, because I think that when it comes to cars and sustainability, it's a multiple solution kind of problem.
Well, Xandra, it's a lot like everything, thinking out of the box. Whether you're gardening and want to grow something different, you're cooking and want to try something different in your recipe, if we don't always go out and look and explore and adventure and try these different products, how are we ever going to learn?
Right.
And great story. Thanks for it.
Hello, gardeners. I'm Xandra here with your happy news. Gardeners, Mardi Gras was earlier last week, and one thing that always comes with celebrating the holiday are the colorful festive plastic beads. We use them across the country to celebrate, but in Louisiana especially, throwing and catching colorful beads is a beloved part of the celebration. But it can also be a harmful and ecologically damaging part that can often have effects on the environment for decades after the party ends. This is because the traditional cheap petroleum-based plastic beads are produced from a base of natural gas and oil, which degrades very slowly and releases heavy metals and other toxins into the environment as it degrades. They can also damage a city's infrastructure, like how they clog up the sewer systems in New Orleans. That's why a research team at the Louisiana State University have developed an eco-friendly plant-based alternative necklace with their Plant Me beads. They developed their first version in 2021 with an algae-based plastic that was designed to decompose in months instead of decades. But they were expensive to produce at around $5 a strand, making them difficult to scale. Now, the research team have been working on their new theory for biodegradable beads by turning them into seed bombs. This latest development involves 3D printing biodegradable bio-based beads in a cage-like structure encasing a seed in the middle. The hope is that by adding a seed, it will help speed up the biodegrading process because as the plant roots and grows, the bacteria will be attracted to the roots and assist the breakdown process. The beads can include various kinds of seeds, and the necklaces can be planted directly into a pot of dirt at home, or if they end up in the dirt after a night of parties, the seed can still germinate on its own with the surrounding nature. The beads are also cheaper to produce at only 50 cents per strand, which is much closer to the price of the traditional plastic version. The team has also put their 3D printed blueprint out as an open source so that anyone with access to a 3D printer could make their own seed bomb beads. While it's not perfect yet, the team has made great progress so far, and they hope to have a full release before Mardi Gras next year. Brian, I just love that teams are finding more ways to help us party, but help the environment at the same time.
So I was wondering a couple things, Xandra.
Yeah.
So I wonder if they're going to put marijuana seeds in those beads
You know, that
and have
that
them flow
is
up and down the Mississippi River, and just
I feel like that's something that could be a business venture. You know, some company, like if these get patented and then some company buys it, they're like, oh, well, party hard and then you get a little plant later.
or perhaps, salmon eggs come in lots of pretty colors too. They could just string those up on it.
Okay.
Probably wouldn't be very good as far as friendliness there, but they get all catfishing in the morning after Mardi Gras. Have a good day. Thanks. Nice stories, Xandra. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, gardeners. I'm Xandra here with your happy news. Gardeners, an Italian fisherman has been working for decades on his fight against an unsustainable and illegal fishing method called bottom trawling, with a project that he started over 2 decades ago to help protect his local marine area. Bottom trawling is a fishing method that uses huge, heavy nets that are towed behind big fish boats to catch fish along the seabed. It captures massive amounts of fish and other marine life while also essentially bulldozing the ocean floor by tearing up the seabed ecosystem, including seagrass meadows and other delicate parts of the marine food web. Paolo Fanciulli has been a fisherman all his life in the small Italian town of Talamone, and over the years he has had growing concerns about the increase of bottom trawling and its destructive nature after he realized it was rapidly destroying the fish stocks that he grew up harvesting. So, he wanted to do something about it. His first project was from 2002 to 2006, where he gathered the help of the Tuscan government to deploy a strategic placement of 126 underwater cement boulders on the ocean floor in an effort to ruin trawling nets as they passed through. Fanciulli knew that the nets were extremely expensive to replace versus the relatively inexpensive cement boulders that would last much longer than the poachers would. And this idea proved to work as they began to see less trawling ships come through after their nets got destroyed. And the local marine life began to restore itself. His next project, which has been going on for the last decade, is to expand this protection further into the Mediterranean in a similar but more artistic way by creating an underwater museum with massive marble sculptures. He enlisted the help of some great marble sculptors to bring more global attention to this environmental problem through mesmerizing sculptures that serve the same purpose as the cement boulders while also providing homes for marine life. Now, over 75 of these underwater guardians line the Tuscan coastline, with more to come. The museum is open to anyone who can arrange a visit, either through a guided scuba tour or by arranging their own dive. But Fanciulli says that his true drive to activism comes from his desire to create a better future for fishing that's more sustainable and has greater respect for the environment. Brian?
Unreal. I mean, absolutely. From a fisherman's standpoint, and I love to fish. It's so creative. And this Mr. Fanciulli, I'd love to meet him.
Yeah.
Because commercial fishing, I love to eat fish. I would eat fish every single meal if given the opportunity. And preserving fish stocks and maintaining them is just an amazing part, of our responsibility of living in this planet. And I got to say that California Fish and Game does a pretty darn good job. But growing up as a young man here who used to go to Puerto Penasco and be able to catch all the fish you could catch from the bank and, seeing what trawlers can do, it's just a wonderful concept. Unfortunately, it costs a lot of money to do the whole ocean. But, if you go through like he was doing and just hit the primary beds and ththings, what a wonderful concept. Fishing sustainability is part of all of our concern. If you eat tuna, whether you eat tuna or anything you want to eat, the ocean is amazing at what it can produce. And left alone, it's just phenomenal how much food it can come from the ocean. But it can certainly be overfished and damaged. And a creative man like this has certainly got my kudos and brightened my morning greatly. Great story. And
thank you.
I really love this guy.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the garden stuff. But man, I'll tell you what, and after you catch all your fish, folks, you can bring home the parts and put them in your garden, and you can grow a lot of plants with them too. I mean, what a wonderful way to make sustainable a fishing area that was a problem well solved by a creative individual. And that's hopefully there's a lot more people like Mr. Fanciulli.
Hello, gardeners. I'm Xandra here with your happy news. Gardeners, A factory business in India has found a way to recycle one of the world's most littered items, cigarette butts. Roughly 6.5 trillion cigarette butts are littered every year globally, and that's a big environmental problem because most cigarette butts contain filters, which are made of non biodegradable plastics and contain toxic chemicals and microplastics that leach into the soil and water. In India, an estimated 30% of adults smoke, and unfortunately, a whole bunch of those cigarette butts end up on the streets and in the local environment. That's why two brothers and businessmen, Naman and Vipul Gupta, wanted to do something to help clean up their local area, so they started a company called Code Effort that collects and recycles cigarette waste. They found that the butts could be recycled and reprocessed into a range of useful products like paper, toys, decor, and more. They do this by hand separating the paper and fibers of the waste, which can then be broken down by using a biodegradable wash solution that removes the toxic elements and purifies it. The fibers are then spin-dried and softened to become a wool-like material. And to certify that every batch of material is safe, they go through multiple certified lab tests to meet the global safety standards before being turned into new products. The material can then be hand-knitted into toys or pillows by the over 100 local women employed by Code Effort. So far, they've been able to recycle over 2 billion cigarette butts through their own cleanup efforts and by placing their own disposal bins around town. Brian, I think we need more solutions like this, ones where we can take wasteful litter and turn it into something useful.
Well, your stories, Xandra, are truly amazing. I don't know where you find all these things, but
Yeah.
Pretty wonderful. But that's really getting outside the box, and
It is.
you know, and everything has a useful purpose, and nothing from this planet ever leaves. And I'm just thinking about the toxicities in the tar and nicotine and all those things. Like,
Well,
hey, you could make nicotine plant spray out of the stuff that they take out of there too, but who wants to put that in your garden, But it just takes creative people to come up with creative solutions. And, sometimes I really find myself guilty in, being closed-minded and not being open-minded enough to find different ideas. But it reminds me of what my grandfather told me when I was young is, Brian, you might want to think about it, and it's really wonderful to see people thinking and coming up with different out-of-the-box solutions to help this world. And it's your generation and those to follow that are going to make the difference. Thanks for the story. It was wonderful.
hello, gardeners. I'm Xandra here with your happy news. Gardeners, a city in Arizona has signed up to be a part of a pledge to help monarch butterfly populations thrive better when they visit us on their migration routes. Arizona is a gateway for migrating monarchs flying through our region each spring and fall from both California and Mexico, so it's important for us to support their population, not only because they are a beautiful part of Mother Nature, but also because they are an important part of the group of insects that pollinate our world and contributes to the overall health of ecosystems and agriculture, with around 80% of food production depending on pollinators. In recent years, monarch populations have tragically sunk to a significant all-time low, with eastern populations seeing a 90% decline and about a 99% decline for the western population. Fortunately, in the past year, they have started to bounce back and have doubled their population. This is encouraging to see, and scientists believe that their growth can be attributed to better weather conditions during their migration route this year and the reduction of illegal logging in the core zone of the Monarch Butterfly Biosphere Reserve where they spend the winter. But surviving the migration isn't just about the final destination, because it can also be impacted by the pit stops, and Arizona is one of them. That's why last week, Mesa Mayor Mark Freeman became one of the latest to join over 600 mayors and tribal government leaders to sign the National Wildlife Federation's Mayor Monarch Pledge, which commits to creating habitats for monarch butterflies and to educating residents about how they can make a difference at their home and in their community. The city plans to incorporate more milkweed and nectar plants into its public development and to ramp up community engagement efforts to get more people involved. They will also be creating Monarch Way stations, which are specialized gardens and parks that provide butterflies with the food and shelter plants they need. The city hopes to transform the Mesa Urban Garden, Fiesta District Police Station, Red Mountain Library Monarch Haven, and the Superstition Springs Transit Center into Monarch Way stations. And Mesa will also be partnering with the Southwest Monarch Study to help them research and better understand the species. Brian, I love to see Arizona being involved in sustainability and conservation, and we love butterflies.
Well, it sounds like Brian better get to work and reach out to the mayor over there and work on propagating more plants that we can put around the valley to help these monarchs. I mean, we're pretty familiar with some of the varieties that they like, but just a reminder of the fact that we all need to do our part in a lot of different ways and a lot of different things. And okay, now you put the pressure on me, Xandra. I mean,
Yeah?
I really kind of took your story today to heart, and it's like, oh man, we need to be doing more of this. But we're building some new greenhouses at Whitfield, so it's going to give us a lot more propagation ability, and so we'll look into that a lot, and perhaps we can donate some plants to some parks around town and different places that we can get some diversity up that the monarchs will enjoy.
Sounds like a great spark for
Yeah, see, Xandra, you put me to work. Well, that's a fantastic story, and I'm very proud of the mayor and for everybody who's involved.